We're going to talk about analog summing today. There's a couple of things you're going to need if you want to do analog summing. You're going to need an interface with enough outputs to make that happen. So today we're going to do 16 channels of outputs into our summing mixer. Depending on the summing mixer, you may need a stereo mic pre to gain that up. Some summing mixers have that built in, this one does not. And then if you want to send it through any other additional rack gear, you'll need that. So today, what we're going to do is we have our Pro Tools interfaces. We cannot use interface output 1 and 2 because that's always going to be for our speakers. But we can use our outputs 3 through 16, and then we can also use a pair of outputs on our B interface 1 and 2. This is our Folcrom analog summing mixer. This takes 16 channels of analog audio and combines it into 2 channels. You have a couple options. Out is off, so it'll just mute the channel. Both of them in will be mono, or you can do what I do and set them up in stereo. So channel 1's going left, channel 2 is going right. So that's why I push those in like that. Same thing with channel 3, 4, left, then right. I do that for all of them. I just put them all in stereo. So 1 and 2 is stereo, 3 and 4 is stereo, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, I know you might ask me, well, what if my kick drums are in mono? What if my bass is in mono? That's fine. The reason I keep it like this is so that all of my mixes have the same exact template. If I'm using 7 and 8 for my bass, is it going to be stereo here? Yeah, but if it's in mono in Pro Tools, it'll still play in mono. All right, Pro Tools is our mixer. This is combining all of the signals from Pro Tools. And that way, I just set this and forget this. I never have to worry about changing this. What I do is I take my outputs. These are my Pro Tools outputs. 1 and 2 is always for what? That's always for my speakers. And then 3 through 16 are outputs from Pro Tools. So this can be drums and bass and so on. We'll figure that out. And then I just have an extra pair of outputs on my B going to the last 2 channels just to have the full 16 outputs. So I'm patching all my outputs of my interface into the input of my summing mixer here. So that's 16 channels. I'm coming out of the summing mixer into a mic pre, out of the mic pre into my equalizer. I'll show you what my equalizer is, my EQ, and then out of my EQ into a stereo compressor, and then out of my stereo compressor back into Pro Tools so I can record this. I'll show you with the gear this time. I'm going out of Pro Tools into my summing mixer, 16 channels. That's when it becomes 2 channels. I go into my Neve preamps here. So I'm going to use this to gain up the summed signal. It's passive, so it needs this volume boost. After it hits the mic preamp, I'm going into my curve bender EQ here. All right. After it goes into my EQ, it's going into my SSL compressor. After the SSL, it would go back into a converter. Our crane song is actually going to need to be repaired. I would usually use the crane song just for the back input back into Pro Tools, but today we're just going to use the Avid I. So now in Pro Tools, we have to decide what is going into the analog summing mixer, and the answer is everything. All my drums are being combined at the submix here, and as well as here, so I'm taking 3 and 4 from all these. That's going into my summing mixer. This track is a cymbal overdub that's going to go into output 3 and 4 for my summing mixer. Bass is being combined here, so all of these are going into the summing mixer via 5 and 6. These are distorted guitars being submixed here, going into the summing mixer at B1 and 2. My clean guitars are going to go into A7 and 8. The solo guitars are A7 and 8. These are more stereo guitars, A7 and 8. There's a yelling vocal, which is 9 and 10. There's these clean vocals, which is 9 and 10. Vocal effects are all these A11, 12 outputs. There's background vocals, which is A13, 14. And there is the keyboards, which is A15, 16. All right, so we should hear nothing. I'm going to turn off click too because we're just mixing right now. We don't need the click. So I should hear nothing, and I'm going to turn off this master right now because we don't need to hear any of that. This is good. We hear nothing. You want to hear nothing because it's being summed in the analog world. You can see I assigned all these outputs. So these are all instruments playing into this summing mixer. They must not be playing if they're not making noise right now. Outputs, remember, outputs 1 and 2 are always for your speaker, so you're not going to use those for your summing mixer. So now we need to figure out why we're not hearing anything. We're not hearing anything because we need to tell Pro Tools that we can hear it. So I'm going to make a new track, make a stereo track, and I plugged in everything in our output chain is going into Pro Tools 1 and 2. So if I turn this on, okay, so that's happening. I'll put these headphones on so I can hear it. So now we do have, so this, I'm gonna call this, sum for summing, analog summing. So this is the analog sum of everything. Remember, if I mute this, I can't hear anything because it's all going out into the summing mixer. So if I unmute this, I can hear the mix. Now, if you notice, the mix is pretty quiet. So I'm gonna turn off my compressor, make sure my compressor is bypassed. I'm gonna turn off my EQ. My EQ is bypassed as well. And right now, I'm gonna turn up the volume of the whole mix using my preamp. All right, I'm gonna make sure these preamps are set. Do you need a stereo preamp for this? And I'm gonna make sure the EQ is off. I'm not using this EQ. I am using the gain and want to have these matched for left and right. So I'm going to turn these up. You'll hear the mix turning up. I'm going to go to the loudest section, which is coming up. And we're looking at the mix here. So maybe you want to overdrive it on purpose. So now we're overdriving the whole mix. But you'll notice in Pro Tools that we are clipping our track. So you could do analog clipping if you want to. That's a way to do it. But what I like to do is I like to turn this up just before it's clipping. So I'm gonna play this again. I'm gonna turn this down. Let me find the loudest section here at the end. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can push it a little harder. Just starting to clip. So maybe I'll back it down just one. Cool, so that is good. Again, my EQ is off, so I'm not using that. And these are both at 40. Now, it depends on where your gain staging's at for your mix. It depends on where you would want that level to be. So that is gonna change based on your mix. So now that is leveled up, it's at line level, and I'm gonna go into my curve bender. So I'm doing some basic EQ. Let's just bring that in and out, see what it sounds like. It sounds pretty nice. And then I also have notched volume control. So I can make it a little louder here if I want to and control that. Let's see if it's clipping. Okay, so we're clipping. Again, I'm just going for kind of, now these are notched. That's why I like to keep the volume here, as opposed to the SSL is not notched. So it's still clipping, so we can turn these down a little bit. Notched is that clicking. It's easier to recall. Okay, so we're clipping again. We'll bring this down. Maybe it'll be there. Okay, so this is my EQ. Let's bring that in and out. Now, I am EQing it a little bit, but I'm also making it louder because these are notched. I'm fine-tuning the level back into Pro Tools, so it's being gained up 2.5 dB there. Okay, so now we're going to go into the SSL compressor. So you notice I'm bypassing it and bringing it in and out and trying to find a good gain staging for the output gain here. Nice. So now, after this SSL, it's going back into Pro Tools. So if we look at our Pro Tools, we're doing pretty good here. We're not clipping. Let's check the volume here. So, you know, about -19, which is pretty quiet, but we're gaining this up without clipping. If we try to raise this up in volume a little bit, let's do that again. So we could turn it up. We could turn it up here, but that would actually just compress it more. So I will turn up the makeup gain a little bit before we start clipping. Okay, so we just started to clip. This is where kind of a secret trick can come up. There's limiters built into your Avid I/O. I don't know if you know this. So if you go to your hardware, you can turn on a limiter for all your channels. So you could turn on a limiter here. You could do soft clip or curve. You could listen to the difference of those. Let's try those. And now let's see if that gets rid of the clipping. Okay. So it does, which is pretty. On the one hand, it's good. On another hand, it's bad because nothing's telling you it's clipping. So that's where I get nervous, but I want you to know that it's there. And then we could turn this up a little louder and it won't really clip. So we're at there, let's go here. So that's a cool option, is we can actually drive Pro Tools a little bit harder using the Pro Tools limiter. So again, that's in hardware, and you can turn that on or off. Now, what we also have is this. We have these in the rack, these Prism Overkiller limiters, which I think sound really cool. These are in the rack, but there's no controls on them, so we just patch them in. We're going to take the output of our compressor, and we're going to put them into our limiter. So blue is left. And it just says limit. That's all it says. And again, there's no control, so the limiters are just back there in the rack. So that's blue and red, and then that's fine. We can do blue and yellow. So we're going into this limiter, but there's no controls, and then we come back into 1 and 2. So now there's this secret limiter in there. And now we can hear that. And what we can do is turn up our mix a little bit now, and we're not going to clip because we're using those limiters. But this is where you have to use your ears. Let's use our ears and push it too far. So I'm gonna take this makeup gain and push it too far and start to hear distortion. Okay. So it wasn't long before I heard this. So I was there to there. So 1 to 2 o'clock. 1 was sounding pretty good, but at 2 o'clock, the whole mix started to get real kind of distorted. Let's hear it back at 1 o'clock here. Yeah, it starts to fall apart a little bit there, so you can even do 1.5, but I'll keep it at 1. Now, without the limiter, our mix was at like minus 19. And now we're close to like minus 12, which we're already getting to almost close to master volume level. So what's cool is our mix is nice and it's starting to get loud, but we don't have to use as much software to get it as loud as it's just like a digital mix. Which again, I mix 80% of what I do, maybe even 90% of what I do, I mix in the box. But every once in a while, it's nice to get out of the box and try this. What I love about this is the analog hardware is doing a lot of the work. And look how little, I mean, I'm just using one limiter to turn it up a little bit at the end here, and it's not doing a ton of And just to compare it to the digital, let me bring in the digital master of this song. So this is the digital one. At the top of the world. I'll see you again at the top of the world. Seems to be a little bit more low end in the digital for some reason. Let me add a little more low end here on the curve bender. Why not? Why not? So I just added another dB at 70 just to see if that'll make any difference here. I'll see you again at the top of the world. I'll see you again at the top of the world. So I'll let you decide which you like better or worse. I think they're both really good. I think they're different. Some positives are that the digital, you don't have to recall anything. It'll just come up. That's a huge benefit. This day and age, we're changing stuff constantly up until the very last second, even sometimes taking down recordings and re-uploading them, right? People want to be able to change things at the last second. So for client work, for the most part, I do it digitally so I can get it done faster. I'm not always in this room. I have to be in this room if I'm doing analog summing. I do have an analog summing rig at home with pretty much exactly the same stuff, almost all the same stuff. But you also have to print the entire mix in real time. So I printed my mix in real time. If I still would want to apply these plugins, which I would want to do, I'd have to bounce it now again with those or, so apply any of those plugins to it. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons. It sounds good. It's a lot of fun to use the hardware. I think the analog version, you don't have to push as hard with digital tools, like digital limiters and such. So that's a really positive thing. Some drawbacks. If any of your gear goes down, you're kind of dead in the water. When you're printing, you really have to listen for static electricity or any dust on the cables. You should also be sending, I send like a white noise. I send a tone through and you see how that's not 100% balanced? I would go in and find a way on my gear to make that a little bit more balanced with the, there we go. So now I'd have to reprint my mix. Yeah, that looks good. You have to calibrate your mix a little bit, and because you're calibrating your gear, you're sending this out. So I want to make sure the left and right is balanced. There's just a lot more work to do on that analog summing version, but it sounds great. Most of my mixes I keep digital, mainly for the recallability and to be able to get it done faster. But a few times a year, I will mix something analog, or if an artist wants me to do that, I love doing it, but it takes a little longer and there's a little bit more to do. Thanks for hanging out, and let me know if you want me to mix anything analog for you.